And now I will share in the chat the our agenda. There it is. And we've just done the welcome and brief introductions. We've scheduled the next meeting, and we have an agreement to record the remainder of this conversation. So now is really a chance for us to just have a little bit of a general conversation about the project overview, kind of making sure you've all heard, I think, from me and or from Micah, but we did want to have a chance to discuss as a group the overview of the project. And then also begin a conversation about the member guidelines and hopes and expectations, how we will work together. That will be the beginning of a conversation we'll conclude at our next meeting. But first is, and I'm glad we're recording this because this is good stuff that we can share with the others who are not able to be with us today. But so this is just a chance for Micah, I'll chip in to describe a little bit about the overview of the project and see if there are questions, make sure we have a shared understanding of this, the project that we're embarking on. So Micah, I'll let you open that conversation. Thanks.
Great, thanks, John. And thank you again, everybody, for convening today. And hope that the people who aren't able to make it are able to watch the recording for sure, so we can all get on the same page. Just been very excited for this day to arrive because so much has gone into kind of arriving at this point, and wanted to just do a little bit of level setting so that we're all kind of on the same page and we have an opportunity to ask questions and unpack things as needed, but knowing also that we're just at the very beginning of a process and a long arc that we'll be spending a lot of important time together. So along those lines, I wanted to touch a little bit about just some background context about the museum and why this kind of work is so important to us. Secondly, how we got to this point in the project and how we see the museum's role going forward. Also, third, a preliminary vision for us to begin to kind of kick the tires on and adjust, very much just a starting point and half-baked at best for us all to kind of make our own and move forward with. And then lastly, some key decisions that this Community Advisory Council will work together over time to make, and sort of the process of information that it will need to gather in order to help us all make those decisions together. So, first off, in terms of the background of the museum, I think most of you are very familiar with this, but just to kind of reiterate, over the last 10 plus years or so, the museum has really moved into wanting to develop better and better practices in what an anti-racist museum can look like and what a decolonial museum can look like. And that has involved a lot of unpacking of our own privilege as an institution, the problematic aspects of our history, our location in Balboa Park, what Balboa Park represents, and the path that has sort of taken us is really one of deep institutional commitments to truth-telling, holding ourselves accountable for the harms that we have perpetuated in the past, but also continue to the ways in which we continue to cause harm, and really do better through concrete action plans that really put our money where our mouth is and sort of walk that talk. So that has very much led to a community-centered approach at the museum, where we have focused a lot of resources and effort and time toward deep community partnerships, and have now engaged in several projects along these lines over the years where, yes, the museum is sort of holding space for the project, but really that looks like us providing technical expertise and sort of providing a general kind of directionality, and then bringing together community members who are really experts in whatever subject matter we're talking about and having them kind of own the project at the end of the day. So we're providing that expertise and holding that space, but at the end of the day, whether it's an exhibit or a program or something else, the project belongs to the community, not to the museum. And it's very much a partnership, but we've been learning a lot of lessons along the way and not always getting it right, but and continuing to make mistakes, but the mistakes we're making today are different than the ones we've made in the past. So that has really led us into as well an allyship space, where we know that because of our positionality as a mainstream museum and our reputation and the way that people see us as this sort of white dominant narrative museum historically, that positions us in the community to sometimes really partner with others, particularly BIPOC community members, in ways to help them accomplish things that they want to accomplish, but maybe they can't because they have a different positionality. So a question we're constantly asking is, what role can we play along those lines? And this project, I think, really, leads into that kind of thinking. We have had a longstanding partnership with Friends of Friendship Park dating back almost 10 years now, and have worked together over the years. And when you folks reached out and sort of said, hey, we are losing the battle and know that they're going to tear down the wall despite our protests at Friendship Park, would you consider helping us try to preserve the wall? And we just said, absolutely, that is a perfect sort of step for us to take in partnership with you folks in community. So, this began about 9 months ago. We started down that path with you all kind of guiding us in terms of how we might accomplish it successfully, negotiated for many moons with Customs and Border Protection, and then with the federal contractor, and secured a transport and storage partner, secured funding for the project, and over the last many weeks and months have picked up these 20 sections of the wall that were identified largely by Friends of Friendship Park, and those are now safe and sound in storage. So we've sort of ended that phase of the project. We're now moving into the community engagement phase. And from the museum's perspective and our role, we don't see that these sections of the wall belong to us. We believe they belong to the community. And when we say the community, it's the folks like you and other constituents that you all have worked with for many years, who have really honored and respected and celebrated this very special site. We really feel that you all kind of are a proxy of that community, even though, of course, no one speaks for the community, and there are lots of different sort of folks who are interested in the space. But we don't believe that we're the people who should decide what happens to these sections. We believe that the Community Advisory Council is. And we have a preliminary vision that we've sort of built up in partnership with Friends of Friendship Park so far. And I'll describe that briefly and then talk about some of the key decisions that we anticipate this group making over time. And again, it will be kind of a long arc toward that end, with a lot of ins and outs. But the preliminary vision is a constellation of interpretive sites spread out throughout our tri-national region on both sides of the border and on the Kumeyaay Nation. So, pick a number, maybe we have 20 sections of the wall, maybe there are 8 sites, maybe there's 10 sites, maybe there's 12. As you all know, there's diptychs of 2 sections of the wall representing a particular artwork. Sometimes there's a triptych with 3 sections of the wall. How do those get redistributed back into the tri-national community? The idea being that, one federal government's trash is another community's treasure, and how do we really honor the site in that kind of way and raise awareness ultimately toward Friends of Friendship Park's goal of creating an international friendship park by act of Congress, knowing that would be years down the road. So the idea is that in this constellation on both sides of the border in the Kumeyaay Nation, you would have various site categories. So some of them might be high profile, high traffic sites that would expose a lot of people to Friendship Park and its multifaceted stories. Examples of that might be airports on both sides of the border, libraries on both sides of the border, universities on both sides of the border, that kind of thing. Another category of site could be community-centered organizations who, as many of you are doing on the ground, are really working with refugee and immigrant communities along the border. And how does the larger project uplift the work of those community-centered organizations in really meaningful ways? So could sections of the wall go to those organizations for them to interpret and others to sort of visit and learn about the work and see the section and so forth? We're also imagining a category of sites on the Kumeyaay Nation, potentially on both sides of the border as well, if that's desired by the Kumeyaay community. And Brandon and again, our TPI Community Advisory Council member will factor importantly into that. And then we've also talked about the possibility of a mobile site, in that Friends of Friendship Park really wants to be able to spread the word beyond our geographic region throughout the state of California and even throughout the United States. And what could that look like if we ended up going that direction? And then lastly, the museum is proposing that it serve as sort of a hub site where there would be a larger scale exhibit about Friendship Park. There could be an archive that would accompany it where people could really do a deep dive into the multifaceted stories and meaning of this unique site. And it could be a departure point or an ending point of this larger journey that somebody could go through on when they come to San Diego, or perhaps they're a resident of this trinational region in Tijuana on the Kumeyaay Nation. They're sort of coming and having this experience where they can visit all these sites in this larger constellation, and it would become a amazing tool of awareness building in this space. So obviously a lot of decisions would go into a process like this. And again, this is very preliminary and half-baked, but we're imagining some key decisions, among others, are going to be, should there be a hub, a site? And if so, should that be the museum? Are the preliminary categories we've sort of laid out the right ones? If not, what existing categories should be eliminated? And are there new categories we want to be thinking of as a group? How many sites should there be in any individual category? What organizations should be invited to participate? And then what sections of the wall should ultimately be assigned to kind of with each invitation in any given site? And then there'd have to be funding associated as well with any kind of interpretive installation. So these are some core questions that I think will kind of drive our work over the next year, and core decisions that together as a group we'll have to find the path through. But there are other ones, of course, that will arise, and many things will sort of come up in the process. But we wanted to give you something to begin to think about, to begin to react to, so that we can all kind of come to a place where we feel really good moving together.
Thanks, Micah. And Maria Teresa already said it, but on behalf of the Friends of Friendship Park, we definitely want to express our appreciation to the museum for responding to this appeal and mobilizing the resources necessary to secure the sections. And thank you also for your commitment to collaborate and to invite the community, which we'll do our best to represent, into the process. And so thank you for all of that from us to the museum.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to recognize somebody joined us. Is that Enrique by chance, or who's with us on the iPhone? Hello, ¿nos escuchas? ¿Estás silenciado? Hello?
It's Brandon.
Oh,
Hi.
hey, Brandon.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for joining.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not able to fully participate, but I'm listening in.
Appreciate your making time for what you're able, and best wishes to your family.
Yeah, thank you. And also my Tipai contact across the border also is trying to get on, so I don't know if she made it or not, but she might be chiming in soon, hopefully.
Okay, great. You got the link to her, Brandon. So
Yeah.
okay, great. Well, we'll look for her in the waiting room. So
All right. Cool.
well,
Thank
very
you.
good. So this is just the beginning of the conversation, and as I mentioned, we're wanting to afford the opportunity for you to ask any questions about the overview that Micah has given, but knowing that a lot of this is going to come through this process of discovery. And as I mentioned before, at the end of today's meeting, I'll be sharing a more formal proposal in written form. You'll have a chance to review that and read that. I'll be sharing a draft of some guidelines for the community. And so when we reconvene, we'll really be able to get into the thick of it. But let me just make sure we have a chance. Are there any questions just for now about the overview that Micah has presented, or the kind of scope of the project as it is envisioned? Any questions or commentary?
While people are thinking for a moment, I'll add one thing that I neglected to mention, and that was we were also envisioning a series of listening sessions with broader groups of interested parties to help us make the decisions that we end up making as a community advisory council. So, obviously we don't want to operate in a vacuum, and identifying who those groups are and how we engage with them to really get their perspective as we continue down the path will be a critical component as well.
Thanks for that, Micah. Any questions or comments about what you've heard so far? Very good. I see we have Yina has joined us. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. Would you like to introduce yourself briefly?
Oh, yeah. Okay. My name is Gina. I'm from Baja. My community is La Huerta, and I'm Kumeyaay, and I want to help and participate in anything I can do.
Thank you. Thank you, Gina. Welcome.
Thank you.
And very happy to have you. So where we're at in our agenda is we've had a little bit of a explanation of the project overview. And Gina and Brandon, this is being recorded. If you're okay with that, just for distribution within our group, if that's okay. And then also we can make this recording available to you. So for instance, Gina, Micah just gave a project overview. When you get the recording, if you want to listen to it, you would hear a little bit more about the project. So, but we also wanted to give a chance to talk a little bit about the hopes and expectations that we have as a community advisory council. And again, knowing that there will be formal guidelines and formal content distributed at the end of the meeting, I just want to open it up, and maybe we can go around, and I guess if you're willing, each person to take a turn and just express something that you might have as a hope or expectation for this project. Is there something, it could be very specific, a specific outcome that you are harboring, or maybe something more general as far as hopes and expectations for this project. Would anybody like to share?
I want to share something.
Please.
I know there's a lot of artists and a lot of images who I feel like also maybe we could visualize a little bit. We have like images. I think Maria Teresa and I have like a few images of other artists and other murals. Like I was thinking maybe if like between all these walls and these sections that they're gonna have an exhibition, like we could also do like a digital work where we show like the other images and the and like the rest of the artwork that has also been implemented here at the wall. So maybe if we like capture like all the images and photos of like from everything we have, like we could also like do some type of like digital work so we can show everybody's work throughout the years.
Thank you, Tanya. You're thinking about some of the artists whose work was not saved as well as, or things from prior years, that kind of thing,
Or both, like
or both?
even, yeah.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, because these ones that you kept are the lucky ones. And I
Mhm.
think there are so many beneath them that they are very worth to see and to make them know.
Yeah,
that
and
they
it
are
would
there.
also give like visibility to how the wall was prior to all this. So like it maybe like a small little history of like everybody's artwork, not just like particularly one, but like that's just my thought. I don't know.
Mm.
Because there's so many beautiful artwork and pieces that we have images of, but that like Maria Teresa says that they weren't lucky to be there, but we could also like make sure we just give like a quick timeline of everybody's work, you know,
Mm.
overall, and then just show like maybe between that, like show the whole timeline of the changes of the wall too. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Thank you. Maria Teresa, I know you have documented the wall for so long. Have you ever kept a running list of all the artists who painted the wall? Do you have anything like that?
Well, I have the names of some, but not
Mhm.
all of them.
Mhm.
It's just there were so many that since 2011 that started to paint that I don't have all of them, but I have some of them.
Yeah, me too. I have a few. I will share them to Maria Teresa just to make sure. Because I have a few too from back in 2011, 12, 13. Yeah.
If you had to guess, Maria Teresa or Tanya, ¿cuántos artistas se han
That's hard to
El-
know. Yeah,
trabajado en el,
yeah,
yeah,
it's hard to know.
hundreds,
Yeah.
dozens,
Not
many,
hundreds,
many dozens, yeah?
no, not hundreds, but yeah, I think that's a lot.
Yeah.
We could always make like a call, you know, call on the artists, like show us
Mm.
your images, show us your pictures. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that we could like just also visualize Friendship Park more, and so people could see the actual history, you know, because people don't know of this. Like every time we have visitors here, people don't know of, first of all, this is a park, you know, and second of all, like the whole history. Everybody just thinks this is the boardwalk of Playas de Tijuana and that's it, you know. So I feel like if we give like a rundown of the whole history of Friendship Park, it would also like give all this attention that it really needs, you know, because until people are not here, they don't know how fully important this place is for so many.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and yeah, that's wonderful. Micah mentioned the listening sessions, and one possibility is that maybe we could just to consider that maybe one listening session could be dedicated to the artists community. I'm also just reminded that over the years we have called that wall the perpetual canvas, because I've been there on the Mexico side many dozens of times, and I every time I'm there, it seems to me somebody is working on something on the wall. I mean, it's almost always that somebody is doing something, not necessarily a formal mural, but you know, painting something or writing something or engaging with the wall in some creative way. So it's a community of engagement across all those years for sure. Thank you for that. Yeah.
I want to ask something. Maybe I'm a little bit ahead of what you were doing, but at the time of the restoration of the sections, will you need the artist to be there, or they will be after that, after the restoration of the sections?
By restoration, tell
To restore the pieces, because they need to do that. Micah is a curator and someone that really restores metal and to see the condition of how to keep them in better condition. But the artist will have to be called and ask her or ask him to come and be part of the restoration.
Yeah, that's a great question. And we have had a conservationist come to the site to take a look. They're called the Balboa Art Conservation Center, and they are a wonderful group that is very equity based, doing excellent work in these kinds of spaces, to begin that process of thinking about that. And one of the things that we've been kind of talking about, even as a threshold question for the Community Advisory Council, is how we all see the sections of the wall. You know, do we see them as ephemera on some level, that, you know, they are, you know, we're meant to be up, and the wind and the sea kind of impacted them, and then, you know, they've had various parts of their story told over time by different groups when they came down, and some of them were damaged when they came down, right, in terms of how they were cut by the contractor and all that. Some of the artwork has, you know, deteriorated over time, was not meant to be permanent, as we referred to earlier, this idea of the perpetual canvas. So I think one of the questions that we're going to have to grapple with as a group is, are these sections meant to be kind of ephemera, and that everything that happens to them over time, it continues to be part of the story? Or are they to be restored and sort of preserved to the extent possible? And does that apply to all of them, to some of them? And we'd have to kind of come up with a conservation plan for anything, any individual section that would definitely apply to. And we'd have to kind of, you know, raise the monies and move forward accordingly. So that's a big question as we think about next steps as well.
Thank you.
Just want to recognize and welcome Enrique Chu. Enrique, bienvenido, welcome. Thanks for joining. And would you like to say a quick word of introduction, Enrique? Would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Enrique Chu. I'm an artist. I'm a cultural promoter here at Tijuana. Right now, I'm with one of the artists who coordinate or made the project Mural de la Hermandad, or Brotherhood Mural, at the border for 7 years. I was painting the border with all the artists and friends who came from all around the world, and artists, local artists, international artists who came and paint with me. So I'm so proud of this project, of you guys, you know, like being in charge of put these pieces of the museum all around, you know, wherever you guys can expose those. And well, I'm so happy to see them. You know, I had the idea 2-3 years ago to get some of the pieces and put it in some galleries I have at Tijuana. But well, I think something for these things is happening now. You know, you guys have it in the other side, and you guys gonna do the right thing to show to the people what is really happening with this border, you know, after we paint it. So I'm so happy for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Enrique. Thank you. And Enrique, just so you're aware, I'm recording this meeting just so we can distribute it among our participants, our members. We won't distribute elsewhere. But before you joined, Enrique, Mike gave a kind of project overview. So when I send you the link to the recording, if you watch that recording, you'll hear from Micah and the community council here, kind of an overview of the project, just to say there's some background, more background that you will see in the recording. So that will help get your familiarity with the project. So we're just now sharing hopes and expectations. Anybody else? Tanya and Maria Teresa have shared, but is there anybody else who would like to share just a hope or expectation that they have for the project?
I want to ask something.
Sure.
Yeah, well, I'm not really like, no, everything is very clear to me. Brandon explained me some things about you, the council wants to protect some like panels from the border of their
Yes.
border, and wanna like maybe like have exposition of that, or just wanna like protect that part of the border.
Yes, no, thank you. Thank you, Yina. Yes, the museum has secured 20. Did we end up at 20? Micah, is that the number? So there are 20 sections of the border wall that are now in the possession of the Museum of Us. They are stored at a secure location here in Chula Vista. And this Community Advisory Council, of which you are a part, we will be meeting across a year now, starting now for about a year. And our goal is to give input and direction to the museum about where and how should these sections of wall be distributed into the community. And we are very much, as Micah explained in his earlier presentation, the museum is looking to this group, the Community Advisory Council, nosotros, as the guides for where and how these sections of wall can be distributed. And I'm thinking, Gina, it may be helpful, and I didn't think to do this. I'm not sure that everybody has seen. I'm just gonna look for Maria Teresa's document. I should have distributed that before this meeting, but I do want to just quickly share a quick review. I will send this document after the meeting, and you can spend some time on it. But I do want to just let me see if I can find the section of or the profile of the different. Here it is. So let me just give you an idea, Gina. This may help you visualize. These are the 20 sections that have been secured. And you can see they had been numbered because in terms of getting the securing them from the contractor that did the demolition, that demolished the walls, we had to indicate, and we did not get all of the sections we requested, by the way, but these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 and 8 maybe here, or just 7. There's 2 more. You get the idea. Some are, as Micah said, some are singles and some are doubles. And so I will share this document with you, and you can take your time. And you will notice that this document, we have done our best to identify the artist, but we know this is not a final draft. This is a borrador, a draft, and we need more information about the artists, as much information as we can get. And so I will be sharing this document before our next meeting, we will have an opportunity to look at these in greater detail. So Gina, just to answer your specific question, yes, that is the purpose of our community council. We will meet over the next 10 months or a year maybe. And our goal is to provide direction, counsel, and guidance to the museum for where, how, and as we are discussing just beginning, there are very many questions about preservation or restoration. How are the participants in the, as we discussed just now, the artists whose work is represented, but what about all the artists whose work is lost, who didn't get the chance to participate in this way? or artists who painted the wall previously and whose work was no longer. Many questions about how to kind of share with the community this history of this section of the border. Did that answer your question, Gina, or was there more that you had in mind?
No, everything clear. Thank you.
Yeah, con gusto. Other hopes and expectations for this project?
Well, I told you last time we called, I was speaking about told you about we can maybe put some of those, you know, like in like exhibition in different universities. I've been doing some conferences and exhibitions about the border wall, like Duke University, like Castle Long Beach. Well, I have like 4 or 5 universities in the United States. Like they invite me this years to do some art exhibition and conference about the Brotherhood Bureau.
Yeah.
And you know, normally everything what you guys have in this catalog, what you guys just show, is some of the artists I invited to be there, you know, painting. And you know, I was telling you before, like that's a really good, maybe one bar or something just to show it at them with them at the, you know, the only thing is to travel with that thing. That's really heavy.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I always think about it. Like, man, how we can, you know, like travel with those things all the way to Ohio, all the way to Colorado, to Los Angeles. Los Angeles is close, but some of other cities are really far. Just to show them the bar, you know. But,
yes.
I told also Maria Fernandez, I told them the last time maybe to put in some galleries here in Tijuana, you know, like to show you, even if the border is like really close in Tijuana, some people they don't really go to places the Tijuana to see it, you know. So I think maybe we need to do some like a monument or something with them, you know, a base to put a bar and travel with that to show in some universities. But last 4 months ago, I was in Duke University doing a art exhibition there, and we did a wood like border wall with wood, just like symbolize the border wall. So maybe we can do in the real thing with those. But I don't know. That's my idea, you know, to put in exhibit in different universities and go with different things.
Yeah, thank you, Enrique. Thank you. And Mike, in his introduction, you'll see the recording and you'll see in the document mentioned that there is the museum where we are beginning to begin thinking about categories, different spaces. We are thinking about both sides of the border, in addition to Kumeyaay land. So some diverse representations for different locations, and also some experiment or experience or expression of a traveling. I think many people have the desire that somehow there would be something that would be able to travel from one location to another. Like we all have been advocating for Friendship Park, for many of us, for, you know, Pedro, Maria Teresa, myself, for 20 years. We have been to many places around the country. I would love to see, you know, a travel exhibit eventually make its way to Washington, D.C. and maybe be in a house, one of the House buildings for the House of Representatives. I'm sharing now one of my hopes and expectations or dreams. But so I think there's many different expressions, and this will be part of our work together to figure out, you know, how can we have the most impact? Yeah, that's, I saw, thank you, Pedro, for your comment in the chat. I don't know if you want to mention that out loud or say something else. And then I saw Tanya also with the hand, but.
Yeah, similar to what Tanya had mentioned before, developing some sort of digital tool that accompanies the exhibition. It could be divided into separate groups. You know, one could be like the historical piece or component to it. The other could be exhibiting the different panels that were saved in addition to other ones that weren't, to demonstrate what the exhibition, you know, an easier way of having it, a traveling exhibition. And along with that, I think also some sort of curriculum that could be developed and it's not necessarily something that the council could do, but maybe having educational experts that develop curriculum that could accompany this, that could be used to spark conversation and dialogue at schools, universities, in different places about what the meaning of border walls are and beyond that. And I think, for the purpose of, at least the way I see it, of saving these panels is precisely for that, right? When we have a section of the Berlin Wall that's sitting just 50 feet from the newer 30-foot border wall, it's ironic. And why is it ironic? And so I think the juxtaposition of these border walls and what they convey, what they represent, and having curriculum to spark that type of conversation would be really important. At least that's maybe a hope. In answering the question about what hopes we might have, that's a hope I think that would be extremely fruitful for a lot of communities.
Thank you, Pedro. Tanya, did you want to add on to that, or I saw your hand earlier?
Just that I really agree with Pedro. I think a digital work would not only visualize everybody's work, but also the history of this place, which I think it's one of the most important things, like to create that awareness of the Friendship Park, right? And what it does, what these walls really do to people. It's not I think it's just overall like a digital work will definitely help, and especially if we let like everybody else know. I think it's a great idea about universities and all that, but moving these sections, it would be the hard part. So I think a digital work of the whole history since back in 2011 that we have images of artists here, I think that'd be great.
And just in case anybody is not familiar, most of you I know are familiar, but in case you're not familiar with what Pedro was referencing, this is the section of the Berlin Wall that has now been established permanently on the Mexico side at Friendship Park in Playas de Tijuana. And interestingly, after this went up, I then started to pay more attention and noticed that the Berlin Wall has been distributed very widely, really internationally. There are pieces of the Berlin Wall all over the world through the foundation that took responsibility for this distribution. So, of course, Micah mentioned funding also. Of course, this is also going to be a question for the council and the museum and others who would want to collaborate. That question is always going to be there, right? Is how do we secure the funding that is needed for these different expressions and hopes we may have? What other hopes, expectations, anybody we haven't heard from, or questions? Anything else you'd like to share in this regard? Yes, Eleni?
I think for me, hopes, one of the things when I think about it, and as Tanya was mentioning about this art and everything, all these like colorful panels on the other side, it's, believe it or not, it's panels, it's the side that I've never seen. So for me, even as Tanya's explaining, and like it just made me even at this moment realize how much more there's going on the other side than on this side. So with that said, I think one of my hopes would be that we can navigate this whole exhibition with a storytelling format, that it'll really just walk people through not only the changes in the border since it was with Pat Nixon, but it created like, it just created like a humanity in that whole sense. And I think it just being able to like just walk through like a storytelling of what it is, not only as a person that has not seen the other side, but storytelling of the border itself, and then incorporate the stories of different people along that. I think it, for me, is one of the things that I feel it'd be very capturing, and at the same time, people would have a better time perhaps relating to. But yeah, it was just interesting to me right now that I hear Tanya talk about the art, that I'm just like, wow, that's just a side that I've never seen. So I think just as I have never seen that side, many people have not either. So I think one of my hopes is that we would navigate in some sort of way, of course, with everybody's input, navigate just that storytelling and how to get it to that people understand that there's a whole side that they have not seen, right, with this border wall.
Yeah, Selena, you mentioned in your introduction that you had reunited with your family at Friendship Park, but that is because you were not able to cross to Mexico, am I right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Just to clarify on that, I'm a DACA recipient, so because of that, I'm unable to leave the United States, and that's the reason why I was not able to go to Mexico to be with my family who had been deported. So Friendship Park was the place where I could reunite with them.
And that's one thing that we have learned and knew, but it's obvious at Friendship Park, most of the families that reunite at Friendship Park, the people in the United States, most have some kind of legal status. Most of you know this, but for those who may not be so familiar, they have DACA or a permanent resident, legal residency, or some other immigration status that prevents them from going to Mexico. And then if their family members in Mexico can't get the visa to come to the US, this is why Friendship Park becomes, for many familias, es el único lugar, and where we can reunite. So, and I'm interested in Selene too in this, because I have historically spent most of my time on the US side, is this contrast. We are right, it's very good, right? We are talking so much about the art and the color, the beautiful Mexico side, the creativity, and just la vida que existe en el lado mexicano. But on the US side, it's always so dark, and sterile and gray and ugly and just kind of empty. And that contrast is very interesting to me and is a big part of the experience of the park. One of my favorite stories is when I went with a group of college kids, young people, and most of them went to the Mexico side, but a few of them were with me in the US. And so they were looking through the wall at all their friends in Mexico who were having, just a great time. And you could tell there was like a party over there. And on the US side, we were like looking through the wall. It was very dark and kind of somber, And one of them said to me, "It kind of says a lot about us, doesn't it?" And I said, "Yes, it does. It says a lot about us. The way the United States, has chosen to use this space." So I'm very interested in your comment, Selene, about the contrast, and the people who might only see one side of things, right? I think there's a lot to explore there. Because each piece, we talk about the side with the art, but every one of those panels I showed you has a other side, which is just, empty or dark.
I get people I get students, when students come over, they tell me the same thing, and then they also say like that means this place is boring and you guys are more fun, but then they don't understand the expression of freedom, right? It's like, I thought in the US we're more free, and it seems like here in Mexico you guys get to be more free in doing stuff. So it kind of like, ironically, a lot of these students, like, they understand that there is not a lot of freedom in their country, because they can't even express. So once they step out here, they say, and you guys could express out here. So yeah, I get that a lot too. And I think that's the beautiful part of like being able to digitally show the work or create these narratives from every single artist since 2011, because a lot of these artists also have a background, a history of affection, how this border affects them. It's just not cute. So I feel like they also need to be visibilized, because they're the ones who I feel like make that history of this border wall, because the sadness or the effects that these walls have, I feel like we also need to like focus on that. So yeah, humanity.
I just wanted to chime in quickly that these are all such lovely ideas and absolutely consistent with sort of the work that the museum does relative to storytelling, of course, and digital tools and curricula and all these kinds of things. So the main difference is like this isn't conceived of as being inside of our museum only, or if even that, but rather dotted throughout our trinational region on both sides of the border, including the Kumeyaay Nation, both Ipai and Tipai, in ways that you know, the public and others can come and really understand these multifaceted stories. The one thing I wanted to add also was that the role of this community advisory council, right, is to ultimately come up with that plan and that vision of what this looks like. And we're kind of starting to touch the tip of the iceberg, you know, as we're going into some of these possibilities. But once we have kind of come up collaboratively over the course of the next year with a concrete plan that we feel good about, you know, at that point we will then, you know, figure out how much it would cost to implement that plan, and we would engage in a fundraising process. So this is really I just wanted to kind of, you know, articulate that the goal of the Community Advisory Council is really a planning council, right? We're not going to make it all happen within the next year. We're going to create the plan so that then we can roll up our sleeves and the museum can do the work in partnership with Friends of Friendship Park to find the resources to implement the plan, which would be, you know, the next phase of the work. John, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, thanks. Any other hopes, expectations before we move to next steps? Well, thank you. That's super excellent, rich conversation. And we were going today to start to get into how we are going to work together as a team, but we do have a couple of members, Natalia Ventura, Jim Brown, who were not able to stay with us for the whole meeting today. And so I think what I'd like to propose is that we really, next meeting, we'll get into the substance of our work together. And I think that this will be facilitated by the resources that we will share. And I'll just tell you now about those resources. Our proposal is that we would reconvene rather soon. And we're hoping this would be a question for Enrique, Gina, and perhaps for Brandon, whether the date of Monday, which is a week from Monday, which would be Monday, April 22nd at 1 p.m. Is that a possibility for your next meeting, Monday, April 22nd, 1 p.m.? Thank you, Enrique. Gina, does that work for you? Okay, gracias. And before the next meeting then, we'll just have 10 days. We will be sharing a series of material with you. I will share the document of the sections so you can see and visualize what is in possession at the museum. But then there will be some other documents that I will share as well that I'm hopeful will let you really begin to get an idea of how we will work together. And so here are some resources. You will get an email from me, but just so I can share with you what's coming your way, you'll know what to look for. We have confirmed our this is next steps. Confirmed our next meeting will be Monday, April, ¿cuál fecha es? 22?
22.
Monday, April 22 at 1 p.m. We'll go from 1 to 2:30 p.m. It will be via Zoom again, so we'll be here just in the same meeting. I will share the document with the sections and the artists. And again, this is a draft, so any of you, if you have more information, welcome about the artwork that you see. And then the museum has begun to call this BWPP, which is Border Wall. Morgan, help me with this.
Preservation Project.
Border Wall Preservation Project.
But that's really just been a placeholder for us until we got to this point, so that we could name it. Yeah.
Gotcha. So for now, that you'll see the document says BWPP for Border Wall Preservation Project, and you'll get what is called a narrative arc. And this just describes, I think it's about just like 2 pages, if I'm not mistaken. It's a 2-page kind of overview or summary, much of what you've heard from Micah today. in a verbal form, but there's a narrative arc that kind of gives you a panorama of the project. And then there's also this, what we're calling the CAC is you, all of us, Community Advisory Council. And you will get a document that's called Member Guidelines. This is, again, a proposal, not a final draft, but a proposal for how we will work together as the Community Advisory Council. So those are these three will be kind of documents. These three here will be documents. And then separately, you'll also get a couple of links. So these are documents. This is a request that you would complete a simple form. It's an online form for you to tell us your biography and also how you would like to be recognized. At some point, we will want to announce the Community Advisory Council, and we will want for you to be recognized with your name and your title or your position in the community, and however you would like to be recognized is, of course, how we want to, how you would like to be recognized. That form, you can help us fill out that. There will also be a very quick meeting survey. This is just to help us think about future meetings. Your availability. Oh, thank you. I see Morgan is putting in the links here. Your availability, like there are the particular days, times that are good for you, bad for you. We are hoping soon to have a meeting in Mexico. And then we will also hope to soon have an in-person meeting in the United States. And so this meeting survey will help us understand, you know, what we can do to schedule future meetings. And then I'll also want to have I'll probably email each of you separately to discuss arrangements for payment. There's available a stipend or honoraria of $150 for your participation, full participation in each meeting. So that I will want to work with you on how we can get to you the compensation. For the sake of convenience of distributing the funds, it will probably not be each meeting, but it may be every 3 or 4 meetings, maybe once a quarter. We will distribute a stipend and honorarium to you for your participation in the meetings during the prior period of time. So just to say that we recognize this is the part of the museum's commitment, as mentioned from Micah, part of the museum's commitment, and acknowledging that the community is providing the leadership in designing this proposal. So I will follow up with each of you. I know there may be different arrangements I need to make. In the United States, I can work on an independent contractor agreement that's fairly straightforward. Del lado mexicano hay manera de pasar, compartir compensación. Entonces, los que están en México, nos estaremos en contacto para aclarar el proceso, okay? So just to say that that will be an ongoing process that we will facilitate as well. So just to say that this is what we would expect is that before we meet next month, a week from Monday, April 22nd, we'll ask you to pay attention to these 3 documents, the sections, the narrative arc, and the member guidelines, to complete the biography form, to complete the meeting survey, and then to check in with me to make sure we have an agreement about how we can get the stipend to you. Is everybody okay with that? Are those things that we can do before a week from Monday? Very good. Thank you. I see. Sounds like we're on plan. And then again, we will convene again April 22nd, 1 p.m. Also joining us will be Jim Brown and Natalia Ventura. So our whole team will include this group plus Jim and Natalia. And if you complete the biography form before the next meeting, if everybody has completed it, I can send that around. I know many of you know each other, but some of you do not know the rest of your members as well. And so this would be a way for us to get to know each other as we can read a little bit about each other even before the next meeting. So I'll try to get that out before the next meeting, a summary of people's biographies. And the goal there is for you to, again, for you to share how you would like to be represented as member of the community, of the council. Very good. I think that's, to my mind, we've accomplished what we need to today. Is there anything I'm missing? I feel like we're in a good spot, and I feel like we've accomplished a good self-understanding, and we'll really, again, dig into it in 10 days when we have the content in front of us. But for now, are we all contentos, más o menos, por ahí?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Well, very good. Thank you so much for participating today. You'll hear from me very soon with the links and the documents. And then we'll look forward to seeing you on Monday, April 22nd. So thank you so much for being here today. And thank you all for your collaboration and your commitment to the park and to everything it means to so many people. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank
You
you
guys
too.
for all
everyone.
the work too.
Thank you, everybody. Gracias,
Hasta luego.
Elene.
Bye.
Gracias, Tanya. Gracias,
Gracias.
Gina. Gracias,
Adios.
Enrique.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Talk to you later. Bye.